really a sign that we really want to engage with various social partners on matters that drive our economy. We are about to start. The special guest for this evening, the Premier of the Eastern Cape, is being assisted to come through to this level, and we are grateful for that the Premier is able to join us. We are not then going to start in prayer until we have the Premier. I see the Premier is going to be with us shortly. We also just want to thank all the various social partners, speakers that we've invited to participate and engage in this beautiful networking session. We also want to thank the business groups that have prepared and have delegated people to make representation on their behalf. And as you would see from the programs that you have on your seats, it's a very pointed program. Just whilst we are going to let our primary guests in, the only major additions on the program that you have is that we have also extended the invitation to the chairperson of Eastern Cape Development Corporation, Mr. Gqeberha, to join us, as well as Mr. Nobo, to then talk to us about the opportunities that are in the cannabis sector. It's known that it is one of the most important sectors in the economy. So we really appreciate you for that input. We will formally welcome you after we've done the devotion, and then that we can then get into the business of the day. I think importantly in the interim, colleagues, it is just to do the health and safety protocols of this particular venue where we are. We are at the Nelson Mandela Bay Innovation Hub. The board members from the hub are here, as well as the executive team from the hub is here. If you, let me start with the emergency points. On my right, on my left, it's the right to others. We have the staircases here. Should there be any form of emergency, we will then walk down the flight of stairs, and then we will congregate outside. There will be people who will then show you where we should be congregating when we walk outside the building. The second part, colleagues, which is the second door, we have another door further down the passage, which will also is a flight of stairs that will then take you to the emergency exits to the point that is designated outside. For the benefit of ladies and gents, the bathroom for the ladies first always, is then as you come out of the building, you will see that it has the ladies sign. In this building, we do not have those ones at the airport that are unisex. So ladies will go to the ladies, and then gents will go specifically to the gents section. So that would be the areas. I'm in technology, so I'm not one of those people who say switch off your phones and put them in the pocket. Please use your phones, capture the event. Those who use live directly on their phone, please use live. Just put it on silent so that we can have a decent conversation. But let us then, colleagues, stand for the welcoming of the Premier. You may be seated. Thank you so much. So to our Honorable Premier, MSCs present, leaders from various important structures in the community. I've seen the Provincial Secretary of the African National Congress, Mr. Gqeberha, seated here. I see many of the other leaders from other formations and business organizations. Leaders particularly from the Black Management Forum that's present, leadership from the Black Auditors and Accountants, and leadership from the Black Lawyers Association that are here, as well as the young professionals that are represented from the Black Management Forum, Young Professionals League, as well as the doctors of the IPAI group that are led here by the Secretary, Dr. Tebelele, and to all of you colleagues from those sectors, we welcome you. We also want to acknowledge the CEOs that are here from private sector, as well as CEOs that are here from government entities. We are really honored by your presence here. We also have presence of various people who sit in various boards. Boards are very important in the discussions that we do, as they provide oversight to some of the corporate work and some of those in government to government annual performance plans. I've seen the board chair from ECDC that seated next to the CEO, Kwezi, as well as Mr. Jahana that I've acknowledged from the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. We welcome you. We also want to acknowledge our clergy that is here with us. Abefundisi Premier are also in business, because churches must be run efficiently as a business. So we do welcome them also as clergy, but also we welcome them as people who run clerical businesses in their environment. So we welcome them. That's why because they must run the operations. Of course, no two ways about it. And more importantly, we wanted to welcome our panelists that have really agreed to join us for this evening. Colleagues, we are going to, at this stage, then invite the president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church Cape Conference. Cape Conference is the conference of the Adventists, which encompasses the entire province of the Western Cape, Northern Cape, as well as Eastern Cape, to give us opening devotions. Over to you, President.
Thank you, Mr. MC. Maybe mandicho nditi kuba premier lapha nditi di qanga lentsibazana. By that, I am saying all protocol observed in the interest of time. Allow me to take you to the book of Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiastes chapter 11. I'm reading there verses 9. So if you have your Bible in your gadget, you can read with me. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verses 9. I'm reading the Rejoice, O young men, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these things, God will bring you into judgment. My interest is in part B of this scripture that says, walk in the ways of your heart and the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these things, God will bring you into judgment. But for me to be able to link that, I need to put emphasis on the key word that is beginning the text, rejoice. The word rejoice there is not an advice, but a warning. And maybe you will understand when I continue with my short devotion. To apply this scripture to our context today, this evening, I want you to think of the capital asset pricing model, where you would find that you will be concerned with capital asset expected return, which is the ultimate. Then you would consider your risk-free rate of interest. Then you will consider your beta, which is sensitivity, checking how sensitive is the market. And then you will check the expected return of the market. Maybe just briefly, let me mention and say the risk-free rate of interest. If you want to have it, you would borrow treasury bonds or buy treasury bonds. When you buy the risk is very, very, very minimal. Maybe it is assumed that government will never go under. So you are sure that the risk is free. But if you buy shares, then the risk is much higher. And then you would consider now the beta, which is the sensitivity. Let me apply this in issues of religion or salvation. The expected return if you look at salvation, it will be salvation itself. Then the risk-free aspect of it would be life. With the life that we are living, the ultimate is making sure that this life gets to be spent in eternity. Then the beta model or element that you would incur or consider would be Christ. And then the market return would be life without Christ. Now, the capital asset pricing model is a measure of the volatility or systematic risk or of a security or portfolio compared to the market as a whole. So if you want to make sure that you apply this model, it is what business people use to either reject or accept an investment or a proposal for them to invest. So how am I applying this in our lives? Having read what Solomon has just said when he had looked at everything he had accomplished, and he is actually giving us a warning when he says we can rejoice, but we must remember that after having followed our hearts and did what we wanted to do, God will bring to judgment everything that we have done. Now, because this model is used to either reject or accept an investment or a proposal, this means if you invest 100,000 and you expect a 20,000 as a return, anything that the proposal brings that is less than 20,000, that proposal is rejected. But anything from 20 and above is accepted. Now let's say now our expected return here is salvation. Therefore that means to us as children of God, anything less than salvation we reject. Anything less than salvation we reject. Then when you look at the risk-free, which is life, the life that we live, which God says, follow your heart, do as you please, but just remember this thing, that as you rejoice, everything will be brought to judgment. Then it means if I live my life, I must consider the bitter, the sensitivity, which is God. Is God part of the life I am leading? Is he in control? Is he in charge? Am I living a life that is pleasing and acceptable to him? That will guard and regulate how I live my life. Because if we miss that and we get into that high risk element, then the market return will be a life without Christ. And we can't go there because remember I said the expected return is salvation, and life without Christ cannot yield salvation. So we reject that life. And therefore it means we need life that is with Christ so that will yield salvation. May the Lord bless the reading of his word as we ponder and as we ask God the Holy Spirit to further interpret and help us understand this scripture that we have read, that when all is said and done, what we need is salvation. That means spending our eternity with God. Having done all, we must be able to spend our eternity with God. So check the risk that is involved as you lead your life. Check the bitter, the sensitivity. Life without Christ is a life that will not yield what we're aiming for, which is salvation. Amen. Amen. Shall we bow our heads as we pray? Father in heaven, thank you for being such a good God to us. As we begin this engagement, we pray and invite your invisible presence to be amongst us, to lead and guide. We pray and ask for all this in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much, President. I'm told that I must stand this side because of the virtual audience at home. It's linked to this microphone. Reverend, your presence here makes us to go back into time. All our gatherings have been opened in prayer, and one of those leaders in the clerical committee that used to be with us is Reverend Tundu. And for a moment there, I just went back to think about how much he's been with us to counsel us, and also may his soul continue to rest in peace. And thank you very much for coming through to do the devotion for us. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we are going to be very much pointed in the program, so we're not going to have frills, so that we make sure that we appreciate the value that the Premier and the business leaders have given us here tonight by not having unnecessary meanders and detours. At this stage, we are really grateful to many councillors that are here, as well as to many youngsters in business that are here. I often say, Premier, hey, when you go to these government events, hey, babudisana bodwa man. Uve kuthiwa umeya wasendaweni ethile, umeya wasendaweni ethile, umfundisi wasendaweni ethile ufumanisa ubana Jarhan, ekuthiwa hayi nakathi ayikho Mr. Jarhan aluhleli phaa. You see? So I wanted to acknowledge all these young entrepreneurs, Premier, that are here. Ihlumelo for the Eastern Cape economy. So we really want to recognize you, and including the organizations that you are representing. At this stage, we are grateful to have the Deputy Executive Mayor for Nelson Mandela Municipality, together with the team of councillors and officials that are traveling with her, to give us a warm welcome in the Bay for those guests that come from outside. Please come this side, dear, for a nice story. Round of applause, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Program Director. It's not on. I part of politicians. I got full of Nika Lena Premier, I bay pet. No book the masses are ye, Basaya, who buses Program Director. Thank you very much. Good evening to our Honorable Premier, to our Provincial Secretary, to Comrade Mugai Toby, the political home, the Tunan, Donganu Pumap, the Bega and descend there to a Cayenne. No Pala Corn, Lap of negative acknowledging to all the esteemed professionals and representatives from government. Representatives from government agencies that have mentioned, parastatals, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen Nabefundisi Bengena Apangapakati, MEC Lucity, and all councillors and MPs and MPLs Opotoni, no MP Makifeni. I bring you warm fraternal greetings from the leadership of the Nelson Mandela Bay coalition government. It is our shared belief that the outcome of the engagements will be mutual beneficial for both parties, us as government and also the business community. All of us have common meeting points. That is to provide services to the people of Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality and beyond. Honorable Premier, the people of this municipality, in their wisdom, instructed political parties in the region to work in collaboration when they denied the ANC an outright majority in the 6th democratic local government elections, which were held in August 2021. Hence, today we find ourselves in a coalition government. We have had to be confronted with consequences of this democratic choice of our people, which include lessened accountability, instability, rife corruption, declining performance in service delivery, as illustrated by the trends of insignificant failure to spend and allocation of budget. The above traits of a coalition government are made possible by a number of factors, which include rapid changes of leadership, has a consequence of promoting lack of accountability by officials and the cultivation of a politicized bureaucracy, which tends to act out of self-interest and amongst other phenomena. Program Director, I'm bringing this discussion to the room so that all in the room can know and value our vote. Because if we would have converged and convinced each other before the 2016 elections, we would not have set and be now depicting the ills of a coalition government. Yes, today we are holding the helms of leadership, but it does not mean that it is the desirable form of government that we want to have. So as we are moving forward, forging towards 2024, how I wish to plead with all of us that we make sure that our vote becomes an important tool to select a government that is going to be accountable. That's not going to water down the value of our professional lives, because if in government there is no accountability, there's no value of citizens, then your careers don't really matter to those that are in charge. Program Director, even though I have touched on the above ills, but I am very sure that we have taken the ship running, and we are going to make sure that we steady it. Today it marks 23rd day in office. Earlier on in the day, the executive mayor released the third installments of progress report on the commitments that we have made in the 100 days. And we remain committed to make the environment conducive for attracting investment in the municipality. And a month ago, we have already convened a successful Indaba on trade and exports, promoting local products to make sure that we also play in the international space. Over the past few days, we have been engaging with the local leadership and international partners of Hive, one of the few pipeline catalytic projects which will stimulate regional economy through an international pipeline of solar, green hydrogen, wind, and green ammonia project. Honorable Premier and distinguished guests, we are committed to clean governance. We are paying systematic attention to audit outcomes of the past 3 years, especially the recent release audit outcomes of 2022 financial year. We are monitoring our patterns on service charges and irregular expenditure, which were the key points of emphasis in the qualified outcome of 2022. The ongoing electricity supply challenge is at the top of our list. I am not only referring to the national challenge of energy, but I'm also referring to the outages that keep on happening on every corner of the city. One would note that the department has suspended officials around the same matter of outages, and as well, we are still investigating as the city in terms of why every minute there are substations that are non-functional, and yet there's staff employed to do, there are companies employed to do the work. So it's part of the topical issues, and I think our MOU with Hive was also to find solutions, because they have extra electricity that they can provide to the council. So in few months to come, we might be over the issue of outages, even before the December target of national government. I also want to convey to this platform that part of what was critical in our budget was setting aside funding for security equipment across the city. We note that there are cameras in the western side which have been underutilized, but we are going to make sure that they are functional within this period of 100 days, and other equipment, your short spotters and also cameras in the location, so that this issue of non-availability of evidence and cases falling away when perpetrators must be on the court for their issues is going to be a history, because it's part of the reasons why we keep on having the same people committing the same crimes. There's no one apprehended because people are scared of being in court, witnesses in court. English. Honorable Premier, today I think I have already touched on the issue of where we have convened today with senior officials around finding a better solution on the electricity matter. And I think I wish to convey the fact that also within our 19 billion budget, we hope to spend it more than 70%, because in the past coalition since 2016, the budget has never been spent more than 50%. So the plans that we have in place and the fact that we have now stabilized your supply chain unit through our interactions with Treasury gives hope to us that all is going to flow, and confidence of our residents and businesses and small entrepreneurs that wait for more than 30 days for their invoices to be paid is going to be history. In those words, Program Director, let me welcome everyone into the city and say we can only make it when we get support from our residents. If we call meetings and participation is not sufficient from our residents, we are not going to be able to know whether we are going or coming. So the fact that you have also invited us on this platform and we're able to share some of our progress in government is much appreciated. Ngalo mazwi ke ndiyanibulela kwisixeko sikaMandela. Enkosi.
Thank you. It's only been 23 days. Let us please be fair to her. But you know, Deputy Mayor, the way that we are so troubled, every single number of days where there's stability, as business, we appreciate it. You have no idea how the 23 days has been important for us. So we really don't take stability very lightly. So thank you so much, and we hope that there are good days ahead in Council. Also, Deputy Mayor, I think we must also acknowledge and appreciate a very key entity, Premier, in the space of economic development in this region, in the space of catalytic projects, which is the decision to make sure that the Nelson Mandela Bay Development Agency at executive level is now stable. And I think that you have chosen somebody who fully understands the sector, who's been around, and unfortunately his track record forces us to expect high from him, because it's somebody that we've worked with and we've seen his strides and his capability. That is very, very important, because all we want, more especially SMMEs, it is to know that if they engage a particular executive, if they engage a particular board, there is consistency in those engagements. So we really appreciate that move. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we're now going to get to the core business. I'm now going to invite the colleagues that are going to participate. There are 3. I will be the 4th one, sharing the front space with them. They will be given 5 to 7 minutes to give inputs with regards to items, issues that their bodies have given to them as a package for them to be able to elevate for the discussion here. And Premier, according to the brief, is that towards the end of the program, we note their inputs, and then the government departments and stakeholders will come prior, and then you almost sweep and then begin to have engagement on some of these specific issues. Without any order of importance, let me invite Apiwe Tafeni from the Black Management Young Professionals. She is the chairperson. Come through. Round of applause. I must say that working with youngsters has been very tricky, and I know some of you may have been very frustrated with the address of this place, because the address is a bit tricky. You know, here, Premier, there's an area called Fairview, and the name of the building is also Fairview. But let me tell you how young people approach this issue. But that should not be an issue. You just get a pin. It takes you there. It will take you to the right address. So it really shows how young people think. So we no longer, you know, with my kids at one stage, I got lost, me being from rural township. The first person I see is my navigator. Where's number 24? And my kids keep on staring at me. What are you doing? The car has the facility to take you there. Leave people alone. So thanks, Apish, and Apiwa is one of the coordinators for this evening. The next person to invite on stage is somebody very popular on TikTok on accounting and finance issues, and it is Ms. Nomi Sanodaka from the Black Accountants and Auditors. Thank you so much. And then this person I warned him, and you know why I warned him, to just stick to the brief of the business engagement. We will address the health matters on Gqeberha as well as on Pumakapa. Bango on stage, Dr. Tebelele, please. You now know why I had to focus in. I know business people are going through a lot of stress. And certain strategic performances may be challenged. So I ask you to keep the focus. The format, colleagues, is that we are going to then invite the first colleague to then accommodate the people who are at home on live streaming, who will then come and stand here and then give the input, and then we invite the next speaker, and then until the last one. And over to you. Thank you so much. Round of applause for BMF.
Firstly, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I firstly want to thank you so much for this opportunity. We seldom get opportunities such as these to actually engage both private sector as well as the public sector on key issues that we are facing, both as SME, on an SME level as well as on a professional level. So I do want to thank you so much. And I do hope that whilst we are here, we actually are intending to not only hear what we're saying, but listen and implement. So on our side, basically, I'm going to be speaking on the basis of an entrepreneur as well as on a young professional. As mentioned by Mr. Mutsemfuleni, my name is Apiwe Tafeni. I am the chairperson of the Black Management Forum, Young Professionals, Nelson Mandela Bay. To start off, one of the key issues when I was discussing with my constituents was, what exactly, now that we have both the private sector as well as the public sector, what is the one thing that we all want to hear from them or want to say to them? And it was intentionality. Intentionality. A lot of organizations have wonderful projects, programs, and everything else that is said to us, but are they being intentional? Are they going to where they need to go? We heard people mention certain funds that have been released, but what is the intent of those funds? Is it really trickling down where it needs to go? I'll start off by saying, I'll start maybe with the professional side of things, as I am a former corporate baddie, having worked in the banking sector. One of the things that, you know, when I was working in the banking space, in the Western Cape, that is, not here in the Eastern Cape, One of the things that we found, and which I've found to be prevalent here in the Eastern Cape as well, is that the stagnancy. The areas of growth are seldom and few. We obviously understand that COVID had an impact to certain things. However, with the funds that have been deployed to supposedly assist in those areas, are they really going where they need to go? Second to that, skills development. And I'm sure you all understand that a lot of young talent in the Eastern Cape is leaving the province. They're finding greener pastures in Gauteng, KZN, you name it. So then it begs the question, Gandhi, when are things going to change here? Do I also now need to pack up my bag and go back to the Western Cape? So it's a matter of, we are interested to hear what is the plan with regards to skills development, ensuring that the professionals that are in the Eastern Cape not only retain those very scarce jobs, but also are able to be promoted through the right skills development. So by skills development, I'm talking now to emerging enterprises, right? We've got the ICT space, but also we need to talk about executive leadership. Are the young professionals in these entities being put into programs that develop their leadership skills that will allow for them to be executives, or do they need to also go to Gauteng? Another thing, yet again, you'll pardon if I sound like I am, I'm not here with a whip, but I'm just, like I said, I had a chat with my constituents, and this is some of the things that was coming out. So on the area of skills development and executive leadership, obviously there are bodies that assist in those areas, which yet again come through certain funds, which those funds yet again don't really trickle down to where they need to go. But with those still, what is the plan with that? You know, what's the communicative plan? Is it really going where it needs to go? And then maybe let me move now to the SMEs, because I can see the SMEs in the room. They're like, girl, please don't forget about us. So as a fellow entrepreneur myself, obviously I know the issues that we face on the ground. We write a lot of proposals. We send certain proposals. We never get responses to those proposals. And when we do, there's no budget. However, a year later, that project is being implemented. So what do we do then? Are we protected as SMEs? Because a lot of conversations that I had is SMEs and entrepreneurs are the future employers of tomorrow. They need to be developed. However, now, yet our very own ideas are being stolen. So then how are we going to develop those spaces? So those are some of the things that we wanted to have a discussion around, just to hear what exactly is the plan to the people on the ground. Because a lot of us are not hearing it. And we found a lot of people are planning to move outside of the province. So we've seen a lot of companies coming to invest. I'm sure the IDZ is very aware of those very organizations that are investing in the province. However, those investment projects, yet again, are they really making an impact on the ground? So on our end, we are really curious to know what exactly is the actual plan, not the plan that we already know of, but the real plan, the one that ensures that no one's left behind. Obviously, in organizations such as the Black Management Forum, which is a body that I am part of, we've got our own programs which ensure that we do leadership development for both entrepreneurs as well as young professionals. We've got Women in Power program, entrepreneurship leadership programs. However, even in that note, we do need partnership with organizations such as the ones that are sitting in here to ensure that whilst many people don't know where to go, they do come to us. And so then having organizations such as the ones in the room today, it then makes it easier for us to say, we've heard that people are complaining about this situation. We are an organization and a body that then says, let's make a partnership, let's build a partnership to ensure that it goes down to the exact people on the ground. So I think that's my time. But I do want to say also, with regards to one last thing, because I can still see my entrepreneurs fellow guys in the room. The guys in the room also just wanted one more thing, is access. I'm sure you've all heard of access, But when we talk access, we're not necessarily meaning we want to hold a certain person by the hand to walk us into the door. But can we have some sort of an open door policy whereby we are able to really have access to these markets that are supposedly there? So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's the input from the young professionals from the Black Management Forum. And thank you so much, Chair, for your input. Without wasting time, colleagues, let me then extend the invitation to Ms. Nodaka to come talk to her sector, the financial services sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I must say it's quite an honor to be standing right here. I think tonight I'll be representing not only the Association of Advancement of Black Accountants South Africa, but also myself as an entrepreneur. I'll be echoing your words, exactly. So when I was speaking to my team, so I'm the coordinator of the Eastern Province for ABASA. And when I was speaking to the team, asking them what are the points that I should touch on tonight, and one thing that came through quite clearly was that of capacity. So within ABASA, we've got different pillars that we are focusing on. We've got a pillar for public sector, we've got a pillar for business. But when looking at the business pillar, we find that so many of our members, now these are members that belong to different regulating bodies. We have SAICA, we have SAIPA, we have ACA, and one other that I might be forgetting, please forgive me. And all of these individuals they're quite resourceful. And we find that we cannot play in the space with government, as resourceful as we are, because one of the things that hits us the most is that of capacity. We find that we are all running our different firms, but we cannot negotiate under the umbrella of ABASA. Because if we could, then within ABASA, we could have some form of system where we rotate, or the work is then allocated amongst the different business owners. Now, we all know that in business, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I acknowledge that our Deputy Mayor was speaking about fruitless expenditure and things like that. Now, without the correct reports or regular review of those reports, one is able to pick up on certain red flags. And we are not saying we want to take away the work of the finance space within each municipality, but we are resources that are available and could be put to use. So we would like to plead with local and provincial. Can we engage on matters where ABASA can play a bigger role within that finance and auditing space? Thank you.
I think one of the important things, colleagues, that in our preparatory meetings we had discussed with the Black Chartered Accountants and auditors was perhaps playing a role in supporting small municipalities that are battling with financial resources, both at a professional as well as at the voluntary capacity, because we've got a lot of committed professional skills in the accounting and auditing space that I think can assist in municipalities. I'm not sure, I know that business people, you do read these reports. The reports on the AG, on local government, really calls for that call to action so that we're able, Premier, to tap into these organizations that have these accountants and auditors to play a role in supporting the municipalities, particularly these ones that are to district boards. Districts are very, very important, more especially if you look at the district development model. So it's very, very important that we make sure that these municipalities are empowered. Someone sent me a message sheeted here and said, why are you not talking about where you come from? Are you hiding from some of the questions? I said, no, the spotlight is on the guests. But I think for formality, my name is Mutsum Fuleni. I'm from Imbizo Group. So part of the interest from the message I got was that I sit in the board of CIFA, I sit in the board of East London IDZ, and perhaps I guess that was the interest why the person wanted myself to show where I come from as well. So thank you very much, colleagues. MEC, you probably ask, are you noticing a shift? Young, women, not longer about coming to give business in place. The tide, Premier, is turning. And the ideas are different. Yes, MEC. So it's deliberate. We're now going to get to the doctors' fraternity and receive their input and begin then to receive the input from them. And we have their secretary, Dr. Tembeni Tebelele, over to you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Greetings to Premier, the leadership, Provincial Secretary, Chair of Chairs, Pravid Anzongabulisi man, mkhulu msebenzi wayenza pha WSU. Nolihle benzambulisa because wayengummelwane wami res. So I'm so blessed. Mfundisi, thank you very much for the sermon and thank you for the prayer. That prayer is still working on me. I appreciate you. Bishop Kalabile, iBhayibhile ithi aboqala baba ngabogqibela. Unyamezele kulo ndawo mikuyo. Xolo mkhuluwa. Ezulwini akubanje mhlawumbe uzawukhokelwa nguwe. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a medical doctor, born and bred in Mthatha, but here I represent a section of doctors called IBAI Group. I'm a convener, but program director is written in the program chairperson. People mustn't beat me. I didn't write that title, but whatever I do, maybe it fits or befits what a chairperson is supposed to be doing. I appreciate it. We, as doctors, even at medical school, we are cultured in working as individuals. Maybe some of us grow with that into the field. But now that has since changed because we realize that what we're doing is actually charity work. Most of us are working privately. There are pharmacists that are here. There are medical doctors that are here. There are dentists that are here. I may not represent all their feelings, but the problems are common. We are grappling with crime in the townships. There's even a moment where we had a march for 2010, Motherwell police station, because about 10 practices were attacked and robbed. That is something that is unseen. That is something that we have never witnessed. Even during times of war, people used to let doctors do their work and assist victims and casualties. What kind of society are we in, Premier? We ask for protection. It's as simple as that. Visibility of police around our practices. The reason our businesses are based in the townships is to be accessible. Yeah. People are talking about access. We are providing our people access. We could easily go to the town and close at 5. But then it means we are defeating the very purpose that government is actually doing. A week ago, the bill NHI has been adopted. A lot of our colleagues left the country and are working overseas. And they are working under the NHS system, National Health System, which South Africa is actually implementing now. So it's nothing foreign what South Africa is doing, but we need to be involved. You cannot discuss access to health and leave health professionals aside. So we're looking at it with keen interest. As I'm speaking here, there's a group of Eastern Cape doctors that is currently on Teams. They are being briefed on what NHI means to them. The meeting is currently going on. They are with us here and we're also with them because whatever they're doing there, we're also part of that. And they said, I must tell you, whatever is happening, the NHS is the backbone of the NHS is the general practice, primary health care. And the drive is to actually uplift primary health care. So you cannot talk NHI on top of our heads, and yet we are going to be the backbone. primary health care begins at the... Fortunately, we've started very well. There's a project that we're doing with the Department of Health, EC, of making TB treatment accessible to our people. Because if you are diagnosed with TB, even if you are a premier, according to the 2006 policy, you have to get a letter and then you go to the clinic. That is why a lot of people actually defaulted TB treatment, and then we developed XDR and MDR. Because a lot of people take TB treatment until shortness of breath is gone, and then after that they begin to doubt if they really have TB. But the advantage of having primary health care services through GP services is that GPs open 6 to 7 days a week, and they open extended hours. So they complement what clinics are doing. So what the project did, that is offering TB treatment, government is providing us with TB treatment free of charge. There's no doctor who can steal TB treatment, even if they are crazy. And the initial proposal was to also have ARVs, to make sure that if you are treating a patient with TB, it doesn't get TB treatment here and then gets ARVs elsewhere. They must get treatment under the same roof. That is comprehensive primary healthcare services. That is what GPs are for. That is what NHS speaks to. That is what NHS also speaks to, where our doctors are also working. So we are definitely involved and we're supporting it, but we need to be consulted. Now we don't know, we're uncertain. I don't know how much when the NHI comes in will I be paid to see the poor. These are our grandfathers. These are our grandmothers. We cannot run away from managing their health. So it's crime, it's NHI consultation. We need to be clear. We don't need to be confused, so that we start engaging now, because we know GPs are very important when it comes to it being effective. That is inclusive of dentists and community pharmacies, which are under the same threat of crime. Access to medicines, prevention, screening, and everything. And Premier, another thing that I want, I'm providing problems and solutions. We are grappling with the problem of deaths of initiates. I'm a traditional Xhosa man from Tata, Wilale Mpunzana. The government spent 250,000 a year to turn me into a doctor. And then when I get the degree, it's job in the last anatomically, physiologically, and so when I come back with that anatomy and everything, then government says, we don't want to discuss circumcision with doctors. Why did you waste your tax money to educate us? And then when we've got a crisis of deaths of initiates, you use people who don't even know what septicemia is, what septic shock is. How do you diagnose someone with dehydration? Because these boys are dying of simple things that can be recognized in good time. We are Xhosa men, we're not born doctors. The way the society is treating us is like, don't. We are traditional men. We were produced by the men that are producing the same people. So circumcision is a health problem. No matter what you do about it or what you call it, health problems need health professionals. If you have got a health problem and you call plumbers and carpenters, it means you are running away. Qualifications. Abanye ziplumber, abanye, and they're chasing away doctors. We are not into business. We want to solve the problem. And singamadoda esintu namadoda esiXhosa. Uba niyaboyika abantu ababhinqileyo, we say we can accommodate that, but use us for its solutions. Because the 5 countries bulala abantu and we know them, we are trained to recognize them. Transformation of the mind. So that is the problem, and I'm also providing a solution. I'm happy with what Mabuyane did Mtata last week, 2 weeks ago, because that young man lost his manhood. Can you imagine someone who has lost manhood? Low self-esteem, suicidal ideation, low self-confidence. And we're here. It's gangrene. Gangrene is something we're trained on. Gangrene is something we're trained on, and you are chasing us away from this problem. Yeah, it is a medical problem. And the painful thing, Premier, when these complications set in, these guys will take this Gqeberha to hospital. And what happens in hospital? You'll be seen by a doctor. Why do you want doctors when we're in a crisis on something that they can prevent? That is not wisdom. Provide leadership in that aspect. It will be painful at start. That's why the NHI is painful now. Even in UK it was painful. When we're implementing policy, there will be pain, there will be casualties. But the reason you are in leadership, you are not going to lead when it is smooth, you are going to lead when there's a crisis. Fourthly, if you look at, I know there are people who like literature here. If you look at what is going to happen in 20, 30 years' time, a lot of people are going to die of diabetes. They're not going to die of TB or car accidents. They're going to die of diabetes. That we know. Science is like prophecy because it's based on what we see now. There's projection, clear projections. If you can screen the whole, this house is full. You can get a lot of diabetics here who don't even know that they're diabetic. I'm serious. What do you want our government to do, starting with the Premier's office, is to make wellness a culture. Let black men know that going for a checkup is not a sign of weakness. Going to say psychologist is not a sign of weakness. Let us invest in our own health. Yes. No, I've never seen so many politicians, and I'm so excited. But wellness. Indesha sithi is central obesity. When we are developing a big tummy, that is central obesity. It's a sign of bad health. It means that you are 50, because you are chowing your own testosterone. We know that is going to happen. It's not as if we know it's going to happen. So if you do walks and encourage people to do skipping ropes and so on, as the leader and the #1 citizen of the province, then everyone is likely to follow, because we're investing in wellness. And a lot of diabetics. Thank you so much. So you are capable of influencing our society and our communities to do the right thing. And they mustn't hate doctors. We are a product of the people. We want to make a difference, and we want to make sure that everyone is healthy. And let me close by saying, we have now migrated with the understanding of science that are struggling with the conception. Majority of problems, the infertility, they come from you gentlemen. Handsome as you may look, and fit as you may look. There are problems with sperm. Perhaps the former president Wampa, Kasemva, uba unkulu, diabulela mkhulu wami. Dithetha phezu kwenhloko yakho ngoku. Yes, in Buizizitya, but this Buiza kamnandi, because interest is to see healthy men and then that are able to lead. We cannot be led by unhealthy people. And the politicians are very busy and stressed. Mental health is a problem. A lot of men are committing suicide out of all these problems. No. Mental health is not about madness. Thanks for raising that. Stress is mental health. Depression is mental health. Bipolar mood disorder is a mental health. Zonke ezo zinto awuthela ukuthi xa uthethwa mental health uthethwa abantu abaphambanayo. You can be as healthy and sitting here ube uphela depression, isolation, addiction, zonke dependence on substances. Because abanye abantu when they are stressed they start using substances. That is all wellness. Ubuthe ukumfo entsango zabalapha. Ndiyamfuna man. Ndifuna uba contact naye because I know government is going to invest a lot on cannabis. And all the drugs that we're using, they come from the soil. So the more we're involved, please involve health practitioners on those things. We're not making money from practices. That is charity that we're doing there. So we need to be involved in all these things that are medically orientated. But when it comes to the circumcision, it's not about money for us. It's about solving. We lost 44 boys in 2001, and yet we're here. And one other thing, there's another problem that men are failing to face. But it's medical. Good to have redundant prepuce. Of mansba, lanti bisusiwe. Okanye kwakholuka kakwenzo kakhle kuba bekuncanyiwe. Sikhona ngokuthi ngogqirha siyayilungisa lonto leyo privately so that kungabikho landa kuthiwa sismegma emadodeni. Don't be shy about it. It's a medical problem. It's well known. You are not alone. Just like this thing of premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, those are our issues.
Before needing protection, chair. Thank you so much, Marco. Hey, Marco, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think, Marco, we must put Mulueklado Ichi, Premier, Yingaki Lando Yorocho, Gqeberha, Ezlokshi. It's really affecting our communities. It's really affecting the elderly. And to an extent that people who supply the medical fraternity refuse courier services to go to the township because they are targeted. And the operators are not dumb. You know, one was just briefing me about the movement of medicine from the government pharmaceutical storage and how it gets to public clinics and libraries. You are almost like protecting a cash heist situation. And these are medical, tools and medications that are for our people, and the doctors are battling to practice there. So I want to put that footnote. Thank you so much, Bank. Colleagues, we're not going to take a break because of time. We're now going to get to the government section. And when the government section comes through, we, the audience, will then interact with two segments around the inputs that have been made here tonight. So we would want to put a round of applause for the business community, and then we extend the back to their press. Thank you so much. Oh, Gqeberha. Oh. Oh, you need something. No, thank you so much. Colleagues, I just want to make sure that I met with the colleagues from Transnet Boards Authority. I've not seen the CEO. Is the CEO seated somewhere? There's so much bright lights here. Okay, perfect. So I'm not sure, colleagues, if you are able to, because the TPN Transnet Port Authority, TPA, thank you, Premier, is going to be having a presentation if it's loaded, so that we just for speed, we make sure that it's captured. I just want to acknowledge our other important guests here, the media. We have the Herald here. Our friend is back from the Sowetan. It's good to have you back. It's okay. We have Bomakapa TV. I must put the footnote. They are the second largest audience, 2.2 million viewers. Very, very important. We have SABC, radio and TV here. And then we have the News from Africa guys here. Many of you don't know that News from Africa is sharing space and content with Bomakapa TV. So if you have a business story that you want News from Africa to cover, talk to Bomakapa TV. It's literal what I'm saying. We are co-located, so to speak. And it's very, very important. These are old initiatives that we started when we wanted to make sure that Nelson Mandela Bay and Eastern Cape Business News have television airtime equity. So that our business stories are not less than 5 seconds on national television. So we've got News of Africa here now as a leverage. So thank you so much, colleagues from the media. We really appreciate you here. Without wasting time, let me then invite the following people on stage without any order of importance. The chairperson of Nelson Mandela Bay Development Agency, Ms. Gqeberha. Please, madam, just come on stage. Thank you so much. The second person is Mr. Silinga from Transnet Port Authority to come on stage. A round of applause. Upremier yena enxebele overall vele taba kuhle ebebhizi namafama akhulayo pha esabi izinto uyawuthetha ngayo xa ethetha. Welcome to Zizi. Thank you very much. And then we are going to have Mr. Mabuyane, the chairperson of ECDC, coming on stage. I'm not sure who know both of you and board. No, that's fine. If you just sensitize me so that it's a very important, this debate of cannabis colleagues from an economic point of view, we want to have it. Just to then extend protocols whilst you are setting up Mr. Silinga's presentation, we are going to then allow the chairperson of MBDA, and we said for the virtual audience, we prefer this position where I'm in, to then use this microphone and then project also to this one so that the live streaming audience can hear us. We'll then start with you. I wanted to tweak the program a bit, Zizi, and then get the ECTC CEO, chairperson, after MBDA chair, and then finish off with you because you've got a presentation. It will then give it just a nice flow in that regard. Over to you, Ms. Gqeberha. A round of applause for MBDA chair. Come to this side.
Thank you. I need to do this. I'm short. Let me do this. Honorable Premier Oscar Mabuyane, Executive Deputy Mayor. Is my mic on?
It's on.
Okay. Executive Deputy Mayor, allow me to recognize the MEC for Human Settlements, the Provincial Nobala of the African National Congress, the Regional Deputy Chairperson and Secretary, as well as the Treasurer of the African National Congress, captains of industry present, colleagues, friends, good evening, goeienaand, molweni, and all protocol is observed. It is my honor and privilege to address you this evening in my capacity as the chairperson of the Mandela Bay Development Agency Board. The entity turns 20 years this August, and our team is busy putting together a plan that will reflect on where we come from and map out where we are going. Premier and former chairperson of the board, Mr. Martin Mfuleni, I know you need no introduction to the MBDA, but allow me to take a few minutes to paint a picture of where we are today as the MBDA, and then I will tackle the future. The MBDA was founded in 2003, driven by the desire to arrest what was rapid urban decay by businesses migrating out the CBD into the suburbs of Greenacres, Warmer and Millpark. The foundation fathers of MBDA, the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality and the Industrial Development Corporation, were pioneers of our early thinking, setting up a special purpose delivery agency that would transcended the bureaucracy of government and adopt a free market system of the private sector, a hybrid model of those times. Since the inception of MBDA, has maintained a clean bill of financial administrative health, obtaining unqualified and clean audits from the AG. The entity has either received unqualified audits from the Auditor General of South Africa or wholly clean audits, outcomes with no matters of emphasis. The performance of the MBDA could be seen, touched, and experienced by every citizen as project after project popped up. Honored guest, the commemoration of our 20 years has given us an opportunity to reflect and reimagine the way forward. The new board that was appointed in December 2022 has hit the ground running. The institution is on a rebirth mission. A new 5-year plan was approved in May 2023. A new Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Anele Gqeberha, present here this evening, was appointed in June 2023. The new CEO has already headed up his team with competent and long-serving staff to champion the change. In just a week, the CEO has held several stakeholder engagements, meetings to rebuild lost confidence and trust. Several partnerships and MOUs will be entered to fast-track development projects that have stalled. Council recently approved a 3-year budget of 136 million for 2023 and 2024. Colleagues, some of the flagship projects underway or planned for the year includes the following. 1, Bay World redevelopment, a 20 million rand initial start, Bay World, which is situated in Umud. The completion of St. Peter's Heritage and Tourism Development, 15 million rand, which is situated in South End. The completion of Moerdijk Sports Complex, 37 million rand, which is situated in Shoreville, Corsten, in the northern areas of Gqeberha. The resumption of the sheds in Gqeberha, 20 million rand, which is also called the railway sheds. The multi-purpose centre in Klein Square and New Brighton of 15 million rand. Development of the Barkens Parkway as part of the master plan. Infrastructure upgrades at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium are underway, and of course the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium is the most beautiful stadium in the world. Also, colleagues, the revival of the Telkom Park land ICC project, the Vuyisile mini square development, as well as the Tower of Light, development of the Orotropolis, colleagues, in conclusion, comrades, friends, and colleagues, the MBDA is reinventing itself. And we as the board are providing all the support required by management. But we call upon you to do the same. When instructions are attacked, too much damage is done, but delay development that this province, more than any, really needs. Colleagues, I thank you. Inkosi kakhulu.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, this side, Chair. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair. Colleagues, you did hear my sentiment about the importance of MBDA, and I think, Chair, some of the projects you've unpacked and the values, smart entrepreneurs here should really make a follow-up around some of those issues. And thank you so much for presentation. Can you put a round of applause, please, for MBDA board, Chair? Thank you, Chair. I have just whispered to the chairperson of ECDC that from our sector, which he is part of, it will be shortchanged from him if he does not talk about the undersea cable that's landed here in Nelson Mandela Bay. It's very, very, very important for us in the ICT sector, what it means to innovation, skills, and how some of us as business here, we should start to read up on it and begin to build a community of skills that respond to some of these issues, and begin perhaps to even get closer to the Gqeberha SZ around the economic impact of that SZ and some of the collaborations that can be done. It is an important asset. The undersea cable is an important asset, and I think that it's the first one in the many years of democracy for the Eastern Cape province to have an undersea cable landing here. We are probably the last to arrive in terms of the coastal provinces to have this cable. We've seen how much it has driven and contributed positively to the Western Cape economy and to the KwaZulu-Natal economy. So we've got to really begin to also redesign some of our business model as entrepreneurs, as business people and professionals, and look at what is the meaning of that cable and what sort of global traffics from skills, from companies that is going to attract, and how we are aligned. Singakhali into zoba onxasibona abantu bethatha office space sithi hey siyatshelwa sibiza ipolitician sikhalaze. When we knew that we've got this cable, it is a game changer. You know, to simplify it, VJ, as I'm going to call you, these undersea cables are as simple as in physical built environment, like freeways, where you've got different tracks that drive the economy, moving goods up and down. And that's how data traffic management is going to be. Just the other day, we were here discussing that cable with Andile Ngaba, and we were doing global data traffic. And today, we all know that data is the new oil. So please, please, read up on the undersea cable. Without wasting time, Vijay, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kamela. And this Bamte, I'm going to hit just the headlines from my side, from ECDC point of view. Firstly, greetings to the Premier, MEC, greetings, the members of Parliament in the province, Deputy Mayor, Nopala Wepondo, business people here present. I greet you all, and councillors of the municipality. Premier, I read, so I think about 3-4 weeks ago on social media, somebody posted something that says, well, it is well true that, it may well be true that you come from a disadvantaged background or poor background, but be careful because you are becoming a background for the future kids. So as well, so you're coloring the picture as much as we come from the difficult times, but we as the present day leaders, business people, politicians, we are coloring a background for the younger people who are coming. So how we deal with this, what we do, our level of commitment to the task at hand becomes super important. Despite our own difficulties renewing the ECDC, even when it's difficult, what encourages us is to see your energy. So, and I don't need to say this because everyone knows, but at times it's important that we say these things, because when these things don't happen, we all complain. We can see your level of commitment day and night plugged into turning the province super fast. That gives us courage to do more, to burn the candle both sides. So for that, we thank you. So we know you don't need us to say this, but we need to acknowledge what we see as committed leader who's pushing all of us. Before I go to a little bit on the ECDC, and I'm going to be brief, the difficult with the Eastern Cape province, and I guess this applies to South Africa as a whole, it's a province of contradictions, and it's a country of contradictions. There's so much that needs to be done. The doctors talk about security and so on, other people are hungry. On the other side, there's so much joblessness. So you see the supply and demand is there. What is missing are commercial models that are scalable to make this thing work. So it's not a case of saying, well, the doctors are being mugged. There are no people who could do the job because everyone there's full employment. So we see both contradictions. So what's critical for the business people who are here in the room is how do we close this gap of supply and demand and link it up with good commercial models. I know that Mr. Slinger is going to talk about big systems. We need the big system. I tell you that a doctor doesn't want to sit with the burden of a full-time security on the door. But I can tell you now, if I take all the young people on a digital platform and Uberize, train them, secure them, vet them properly, and put them on motorbikes in Motherwell. Proper people, well vetted, well trained, the security people, they're not on full-time employment. I get them on call out, I Uberize. When you know you are threatened, you press a button and they come. It's affordable to you as a doctor, you have no burden, but actually you've got a number of things. This is how you look at supply and demand and how we find good business models and commercial models to make sure we deal with joblessness. Young people are not asking me, Premier, when I meet with them, they're not saying we want to be paid businesses that are going to give us hundreds of thousands. They're saying, can you get me a business that's going to give me a profit, even if it's 5,000, even if it's 3,000 per month as a startup, nano enterprise? I'm not saying that's the best outcome. But if we can create more of the people who can live off their own efforts, we restore dignity and they will grow. So I'm using the example of just the contradiction, how you solve it. We can solve it today, the Motherwell scenario, if we think cleverly around the commercial. But it's the people in this room, business people, who are going to have to think about these business models and bring them to the fore. Then we talk about funding. So we are renewing the ECDC. We're accelerating our involvement, our own restructuring of the business. We are in a good space with that renewal program. Today, the province, we work a lot on partnerships. We visited the oyster farm here a year or so ago. They grow oysters in the coast here. The folks have a number of lanes in which they grow this. And they have lanes that are not populated. We said, okay, 20 lanes are not populated, then what if we fund startup SMEs to use these lanes, because you've already got the infrastructure, you can commercialize their processing. They said, by all means. So we work to fund the SMEs. We got the management team work with this team, fund them. You have to leverage people's capabilities and assets to grow, but we need business people. All I'm saying from an ECTC point of view, we need innovative business models that we can actually deal with the contradiction. So we open to business, we open to fund businesses here in the province. We do not have enough liquidity and capital to cover everybody. However, if you come and knock with a good business plan, you will get home with an answer, and will most probably fund your business. So that's from the broader ECTC point of view. Now, again, Motsa talks about the cable. A big thing to land the cable. But cable itself, when it lands here in Gqeberha, is not enough premier. We have to invest in network capillarity. We must make sure that the Gqeberha cable can be found in Ngcobo, in Stettlerville. Yes. So, okay, I should not have said Ngcobo, right? So we have to make sure every small town has an internet breakout point. So for it to land, it's not good enough. Yeah. It's a massive investment opportunity. But we have to improve network capillarity, optic fiber to every small town. Where the opportunity sits is when every home can have accessible superfast broadband, which is affordable. Yes. Because then you start to change the construct of jobs. We can start looking for global workloads to actually make sure that people in Motherwell, in Umtenzane, in Kwezi, in Umtata, can actually work for global players, whether it's Amazon, you call it teach English first language to the Vietnamese and Chinese, so to speak. It's all about global workloads. Cape Town is strong on software development. There is no reason why we shouldn't build a software development capability here so that we can start having the opportunity. So, but all of it hangs on digital infrastructure. The cable and network capillary fiber is what I call in the 4IR domain foundational technologies, the foundations of 4IR, access to broadband, skills for digital economy. There are frontier technologies that sits on top of that, which is robotics, AI, machine learning, you name them, ChatGPT. So all of these are frontier ones, but we have to deal with foundations first so that we can make sure we leave no one behind. So the cable is here. But if it just lands here, only the telcos, traditional ones, are going to benefit, and it won't move the needle for you and I. There's an opportunity for people to invest in bringing fixed broadband into the province, and that's an opportunity for business. It's talking about this. If you're going to start a business, they want equity, honest equity. But black people break into democracy with no economic base. All of a sudden, we expect them to have these hundreds of millions to actually co-invest alongside debt. But where is the fund to back black ideas? Otherwise, black people must be bridesmaids in PE structures and so on. It's time to innovate agriculture, information area, digitization of technology on infrastructure, healthcare, even with NHI, different layers of delivery on healthcare. Banking, all these things are being created not by black people because there's lack of equity. So I think it's an important debate we must have. So from an ECTC point of view, the legal we have, we're starting to develop instruments which are quasi-equity instruments that can address this issue. So early days, but good progress. So if you have to talk, if you want to engage with us, the ECTC team is open to business. We are doing our best, small as we are in terms of equity, in terms of liquidity, but good business cases will fund. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sisanda. Let me invite Sisanda back to reset the presentation for Mr. Silinga. That blink was because we were switching from generator back to normal power because we were load shedding from 6. Thanks, Sisanda. Whilst you're doing that, colleagues, I really, if you were to really take anything from me as a facilitator tonight, is this whole issue of digital infrastructure economy. It's amazing. I spend most of my time watching Bloomberg. It's just amazing how much AI has now become common expressions. But by the time we blink, a lot of these things is going to be really us and our phones. And our phones are already doing a lot of things for us. You'd be surprised how much your phone is making life easy for you without you even knowing. And sometimes you get surprised that it gives you leads of things that you don't know. But how does it know? I needed to look for this because it's data and algorithms are accumulating information on you. One of the things important with this whole issue of digital infrastructure, we in Mandela Bay, we know from hundreds of years, we are a industrial economy. And the automotive sector, which will benefit from the spin-offs of this digital infrastructure, is going to be one of the things where perhaps some of us must go back to school again to learn these things as business people so that we can understand them. Some of us may mean that we must ask our children at night to take us to a homework session on how some of these things work. It is important and it has nothing to do with age. So we must never also allow, remember some of us in high school went through the maths and science referral. This is for everybody. Coding can be for Dadon, can be for young. Just to understand the concepts, because that is what is already driving a business. One last point, then we hand over to Mr. Selinga. Susanda should be done shortly with the setup. I was talking to a colleague from NOMSA over the weekend on some economic issue. And he says to me, when he joined Volkswagen in Udenegg, there were 14,000 employees. Now, NOMSA, Volkswagen operates with 3,000 employees. The machines are doing everything. So the work of 11,000 people is now done by robots and the machines. They don't go on strike. They're not tired. They don't take a break. But somebody must do the software. Somebody must resell the software. Somebody must work on the algorithms. So these are quite important. Colleagues, without wasting time, maybe let me invite Mr. Selinga. He will do the prelims, and then we'll get back to the presentation. And welcome, Mr. Selinga. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Premier, Deputy Mayor, the Honorable elected leadership. I see, Premier, quite a lot of my principals are here. I see my former chair of the portfolio committee, the provincial secretary, the chairpersons of the boards who are here, Bai and Mrs. Mamla of the CDC, the CEs of the board, Mr. Dawa is here, and Mr. Dia from the CDC, the business colleagues that are here. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It might be a get-out card that the system is not working, so I won't necessarily regret it. The end of how it goes. As I was coming up, the Premier came to me and he said that he is wearing an overall because he was trying to match me. So it so happens that today I forgot that there was this particular session. So I woke up and I thought, let me dress up. And this is my standard of dressing up. And I know it's not as elegant as a career by any stretch of imagination. My brief chair was that I must speak, I must make a presentation on the work that the Transnet National Authority does, Port Authority. Now, I was a bit, I must say, Chair, I was a bit frightened when I realized that the media is actually here. So part of the reason why I will not be disturbed is because the presentation would have spoken on some of the things to try and provide a context. So I'll, if you like, speak off the cuff. Our mandate as the Port Authority really relates to the ports. So now, not everything that goes wrong in Transnet has got to do with the Transnet National Port Authority. There are trains there, there's pipelines, and there's lots of equipment, cranes that are operated by other divisions of Transnet. Transnet National Port Authority is both a landlord entity. It owns the infrastructure. It's responsible for the provision of marine equipment like the tugs, those boats that you see nudging the vessels. But more importantly, also acts as an authority and regulates and awards licenses, amongst other things. So in as much as we are part of Transnet, but as an authority, there are those areas of responsibility that we are the ultimate authority, and we make our decision separate and apart from what Transnet does, to the extent that Transnet is also one of the operators that operate these particular ports. So the port system itself is constituted by about 8 commercial ports, which starts from Richards Bay on the east coast. So it's Richards Bay, Durban, East London, Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth, the port of Port Elizabeth, notwithstanding the fact that it's here in Gqeberha. As a gazetted name, it still remains called the Port of Port Elizabeth, no disrespect to the authentic name. Port of Mossel Bay, Cape Town, as well as Saldanha. And it's a significant portfolio. It, as you would know, it's a monopoly. When you don't like TNPA, you still have to use TNPA. When you want to kill TNPA, you must still use TNPA. When you really are stuck, if you are going to be using the sea, you must still go to TNPA. And to the extent that it's a monopoly, there would be morbid symptoms or morbid patterns of behavior that would have developed over a period of time, because the market does not always have the options that it should actually have. So it's an institution that is in motion from a transformation point of view.
19 items.
That is in motion from a transformation point of view. And I'm really going to summarize, colleagues. Starting with the West Coast, some of the work that is being done in the West Coast, and that this is starting in Northern Cape. To the extent that the significant portion of this audience is a business audience, one of the things about the Eastern Cape is that we must learn that what comes around must go around. To the extent that you compete with businesses that are not necessarily originating from the Eastern Cape, but they come to the Eastern Cape. In some instances, it would be better for you to, if you consider it to be a fight, you take it to those particular regions and you pursue businesses so that there's reciprocation. So that if you are contesting the fact that you're a local business, you're not getting opportunities, and maybe you also go and pursue opportunities in those particular regions. In the Northern Cape, there's a new port that is in the footing. There's an announcement that is due, which will be done. Is a dual or a triad system. The port, with the exception of the Port of Durban, and the Port of Durban, of about 9 or 10 of the segments, the Port of Durban dominates 7 of those particular segments, all right? Whether it's automotive, whether it's container, or most of those, whether it's agriculture, and only 2 other segments are spread in the other provinces. The one segment is iron ore, which is dominated by Saldanha, and the other one is manganese, which is dominated by the Eastern Cape. I know you will be quite surprised because you would think ordinarily that automotive would in fact be dominated in the Eastern Cape. Unfortunately, as it stands, just above 60% of that particular commodity actually goes through the channel of the Port of Durban. Now, a system from a planning point of view, which is over-reliant in one particular channel system and create alternative viable channels that are operating at a critical mass level. So the Northern Cape channel will basically be focused on the manganese. The idea is to do a port as well as to do rail. These put together, I cannot be can yield that particular port in the same way that the Eastern Cape would have done historically with respect to the port of Gqeberha. In the Western Cape, if I might I come down around the port of Saldanha and the port of Cape Town and the port of Mossel Bay, we've got 4 ports in the port system, which we have looked diagnostically, and we concluded that these are distressed ports. And this, in the Eastern Cape, one of those distressed ports would be the port of East London. And I think you would immediately realize why that port would be regarded as a distressed port. Incidentally, Mossel Bay is also a distressed port. We've got the port of Saldanha as a distressed port, as well as the port of Richards Bay. These are ports that are receiving significant attention. Now, one of the ironies about TNPA, and I'm just going to be brief, is that TNPA prints a lot of money. It generates about 13 billion rands, and it's got EBITDA that runs above 50%. But if you look at investments, and by the way, I must say, Program Director, I was completely intimidated by the bishop who came here. Yes. And we were sitting there with Ujola, Unqiweni, and Bishop was eloquently going through something that has taken me 5 years to understand what the hell, and he went through it. And I thought at that church, you couldn't donate 10 rand in that church, you 100 rands. There's just no way you could at 10 rands. It probably has got a machine that rejects 10 rands and it runs. And it was absolutely, and I had my finance colleagues there absolutely amazed by it. I've now forgotten what I was saying.
Distressed ports.
Distressed ports.
Yes.
Yes. So we invest in these particular ports in order to ensure that we get them to a point where they can perform. Now, in the past 13 years, from 2010, 11, up until now, if you look at how much we have been requesting from an infrastructure point of view, incidentally, Chair of MBDA, if you look at what we've been requesting vis-a-vis what we've been spending in the order of about 50% of what we've actually been receiving. In fact, if you look at our percentage of expenditure on CAPEX as a percentage to our revenue, we're sitting at 11%. And if you look at capital investments for developing countries, or countries that are really progressive and like Korea and developmental states, you will see that they tend to perform relatively very well. They spend up to 25% in their gross fixed capital formation as a percentage of GDP. In fact, our own country, if you look at on average over the past 8 or 10 years, we would have been spending on average at about 16% of GDP in fixed capital formation. We were spending at 11%. And the results are there to see. Most of our ports are derelict. The capacity, they are choking, and you know very well about the stories in Richards Bay, where the trucks are basically going back 50, 60 kilometers because of significant investment. And the irony is that the significant underinvestment is not as a result of lack of capital. It's in spite of the fact that the entity has actually been printing money. And it really speaks to systems, and it speaks to human capital, and also hollowing out of state entities in the past decade, so as well as perversing the strategic intent of these particular entities. I will only spend or award if I am to benefit from it. So there's a lot of institutional renewal and effectively reimagining the ethical genetic imprint of an institution so that that institution works for the purpose for which it was intended, which is to serve the people of this particular country. So that investment in the Western Cape as well as in the Northern Cape is part of that particular footprint. Saldanha, effectively looking at it as one of the gas anchor points. But we're also asking ourselves significant questions, because iron ore, 99% of iron ore that we're exporting actually goes through the channel of Saldanha. So the question is, what happens if a similar incident as what happened in KZN, what would happen to that particular channel from an iron ore point of view? So we are actually sitting on a borrowed time in that particular respect. The Port of Cape Town is to focus on the hospitality side, but also to concentrate on the container side of things. We are currently going through a process as a country in which we are discontinuing refining crude oil, and we are importing a finished product. What that means is that from a liquid space, from a segment type, our ports are going to be changing quite significantly. So the relocation of the tank farms here in Gqeberha that are being relocated to Ngqeberha is a significant proposition. That's one of the projects. We are commencing with it, and we think that we should be awarding around, give or take, Nandi, don't know, around, oh, Nandi's looking at somebody else, around maybe October and November. That will be a significant investment, which would be in the order of about R1 billion that we are actually going to be making. And of course, we are reinforcing our capacity, increasing our capacity across the country to be able to hold sufficient stock of refined fuels, because we are discontinuing as a country in processing the refineries. And of course, from a gas point of view, there are significant opportunities in the port of Cape Town. There's an industrial area just behind the port, and I would forget the names. I think one is called the Pip site and one is called Kolenborg. We're doing truck staging areas, modernizing these ports, registration, recognition systems, integrated security systems. You would have read over the weekend in the Sunday Times where chrome is being stolen from Richards Bay, taken to City Dip, and come back with a different owner. So part of the systems that we're actually putting in place, and to come back to the points that you were making about digitization, is integrating our security systems and making sure that we are operating at a global level. As we speak, and I'll finish with the Eastern Cape. In KZN, it's a global port, the port of Durban, historically port of East London. So in the next few weeks, we would be going out, and that would be an expenditure, Honorable Premier, just in the order of about, give or take, about 3 billion rands. If you go to the port of East London, you'll see that it's got a very narrow throat, which limits the sizes of the vessels that are able to actually come through. You would have seen it in the video if it had actually played. It's also to strengthen certain berths to enable and facilitate much bigger vessels that would actually come and service the port. At the moment, it is relatively very shallow, and the length of the berths don't fit the longer sizes of the vessels that have actually come in. Most of these vessels now, they go up to 300 meters, 305, and you find most of our berths is 220, 230. It's basically having a small house and having a big sedan, and it doesn't fit in your car. And what simply happens is that the logistics companies simply bypass that particular country, and they go and they drop their cargo in Mauritius, and you must figure out a way of getting it from Mauritius. So it's a significant competitive issue. We are focused in the East London in making absolutely sure that we de-risk East London from being over-reliant on automotive, and in particular in one particular company. And the strategic intent, if you remember, I said that the port system is running a dual or a triad system. Part of some of the stuff that we're looking at relocating from the port of Durban, some of that particular stuff would actually be going through the East London Channel. The East London East Cape Channel is the only channel in the railway system that has got free slots. The rail system is completely clogged, with the exception of the channel in particular that is actually going through the Eastern Cape. In other words, if you are in coal, in the business of coal, you can push through coal without any difficulty of access to the rail platform, which is cheaper than the road platform for export through the East London Channel. The agriculture, at the moment, Durban controls about 93% of agricultural exports, and the rest of the country shares the 7%, which then means if Durban chokes, we starve, which is a serious risk from a country point of view. And we're looking at East London as also deepening it as an agricultural corridor, given the role of the Eastern Cape in that particular sector. The last part that we're collaborating with the development agency in East London is the hospitality leisure side of making that port easy on the eye. At the moment, it's quite aesthetically not the best place to be. And there's significant opportunities. And there's significant opportunities. Now, the good thing about that port is a river port. And river ports open themselves to leisure because, I mean, if you travel around Europe, you'll see most of the people who walk up and down along some particular big river. And traditionally, you'd know that so most of us can't swim, at least not at sea. Maybe would swim emlangeni, but when it comes to the sea, it's something else. So part of it is to, in fact, create access, because one of the things with these particular ports is that our people don't have access to the South African ports, which goes back to some legacy issue about who accesses which facilities. Quickly to move, and I'm concluding, Chair. Quickly to move to the Gqeberha. So in the Eastern Cape, between these three ports, the strategic intent is that in the next 7 years, we will be spending, in give or take, and I speak subject to correction, my colleagues are over there, but just above 35 billion rands. It is a significant commitment that we are putting tremendous pressure on. And the premium project, which was due for some announcements, which is running a little bit behind schedule, is a manganese terminal. The relocation of manganese from the port of PE to the port of Gqeberha. At the moment, this particular channel exports between PE and Gqeberha, exports just give or take about 9 million tons of manganese. The idea is that we would want to take it to 22 million tons. So we want to close to, give or take, 2.5 times what we are able to do. And of course, that has got particular implications. But we also want to do it at about the same time that is also being switched over to the trains and to stay away from the roads. So there's a manganese terminal that is being conceptualized, or rather in the process of adjudication, which was handled by the Gqeberha Development Corporation as an implementing agent. Again, I'm sure in the next weeks, there would be a significant announcement around that particular thing. So we're talking about implementation. Hopefully, by the time Christmas comes, we would have actually broken ground in that significant investment. You cannot separate the upgrade of the port of Port Elizabeth with the port of Gqeberha, in the same way that Richards Bay and the port of Durban are Siamese twins, because you deconsolidate on one side and you use the other one to actually reimagine. The port of Port Elizabeth, the intention is that we would be forecast, all containers will be moved. And I know not everybody agrees with this, but that's a decision that has actually been made. All containers will be moved to the port of Gqeberha. We are again going out on an international bid. The port of Gqeberha, the container terminal at the moment, was designed for about 2.2 million TEUs, and we're touching just about maybe what 700 million and so 700,000 TEUs. So we're using a third of that particular capacity, which means is a complete underutilization of that particular investment. And part of it is to bring a global player who would be a partner to Transnet, so that we can, in fact, valorize the value that is underutilized in that particular port. Once you relocate the containers here, we want to consolidate the port of Port Elizabeth, in particular around automotive. And Ford, again, through engagements with provincial government, took a decision that they want to transport all their vehicles through the East Cape Channel. At the moment, they go through the Durban Channel. So, and this particular port, I think when it comes to containers, was the best performing in the country in the competitive study that was actually undertaken by the World Bank. In fact, the East London, the auto component side of East London is actually the best performing in the country when it comes to handling of cars. And this is the benchmarking with other global destinations like Thailand and those countries that we're actually competing with. So this port will focus on making sure that it's reimagined, remove manganese back to Gqeberha. The one becomes an industrial port, and the other one becomes a relatively very clean port, which takes us into the hospitality opportunity of a waterfront in the port of Gqeberha. And I saw Mr. Nkoslu here, some of the players who are working on those particular opportunities. It's a real opportunity to the extent that when the relocation takes place, and we're talking about 2.5 to 3 years, when that relocation takes place, it becomes a theater of dreams insofar as what is actually possible. Now, we're not suggesting that you must try and reimagine Cape Town. You don't have the mountain. Or Port St. John's, John. You must do something authentic and something that is fit for this particular environment, but that is equally global. Recently, some colleagues we visited at the port of Barcelona, which in fact was inspired by the Olympics. Beside the famous football club there, they've got a port which is famous for its hospitality. Most of these leisure vessels that go around Europe, they actually decamp in Barcelona. We actually found that in Mossel Bay, just to conclude, most of the small vessels that are being repaired in Mossel Bay are actually owned globally. So the issue around ship repair facility as a job creator, and so far as welding, painting skills, all of those particular basic skills is an opportunity that is actually waiting. For East London, we're also strengthening East London as a ship repair facility. We've got a ship repair facility. We've got 3 ship repair facilities, one in Durban, one in Cape Town, and a very small one in East London. The intention is to exploit the automotive skills that are in the port of East London and establish a very deep base for a ship repair facility in East London and increase the capacity of the existing facility. And that's where the bulk of the investments would actually be going. And I would be remiss, Honorable MEC, if I didn't make the point that, and I was requested to convey this, that Transnet greatly appreciated, and apparently there was, today is Tuesday? Yes. Today is Tuesday. On Sunday, there was a boxing match which took place in East London. And apparently, I unfortunately missed it, but people saw it in head office in the advert of the provincial government of the Eastern Cape. There was a very clear statement about the head office of TNPA, and Portia indicated that I must actually convey their sincere appreciation for that recognition of the small contribution that they've actually made. And of course, it's only the beginnings. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much, CEO. We are building the Eastern Cape we want. So Shalala Vito Ngabusiza kodwa ngoku. Ngabusiza ngoku.
Premier inothetha ekuqaleni iyawuthetha kupodium. Ninjeke ubaphatha ngolu hlobo abantu.
So we're going to play a video that the Premier has requested just to complete the picture of the Eastern Cape. It's put together by the Eastern Cape tourism guys. Nice picture.
Okay, so I'll project that forward. I'll project that up for the social media audience. I'll project that up. So noted.
Conquered and untamed frontiers set the stage for a never-unfolding story. This is the Eastern Cape. Spent along 800 kilometers of South Africa's sunniest coastline, the Eastern Cape is the country's second largest and most diverse province, alive with possibility. Strategically positioned at a junction of natural, historic, and economic frontiers, the Eastern Cape offers an unparalleled tourism, investment, cultural, sport, and lifestyle destination, hosted by warm and welcoming people as colorful as their surroundings. The Eastern Cape is blessed with a warm year-round climate, boasting more than 300 sunshine days annually, and drawing thousands of sun seekers to our temperate waters and inland beaches. The province offers 9 tourism routes to guide visitors through its unique offerings, from breathtaking natural wonders to intriguing man-made spectacles. The Eastern Cape's 2 major cities of Nelson Mandela Bay and East London provide the ideal home base with all the comforts of first world cosmopolitan living, while encounters with untamed nature wait right on your doorstep. Our reserves, parks, and lodges encompass a tremendous range of scenery, climates, bird life, and game, including the Big Seven. Nelson Mandela Bay, the southernmost city in Africa, also earns its title as water sports capital of the continent, offering a full package of family fun, thrills for wave riders, and profound encounters of a deeper variety. While thrills continue off the Wild Coast, one of the Eastern Cape's best kept secrets, boasting some of the country's best fishing sites and now the pristine secluded coastline, including the famous hole in the wall. And when it's time to get back to the comfort zone, a full spectrum of quality accommodation caters to every whim and budget, from 5-star hotels and game lodges to scenic self-catering meals. The Eastern Cape truly offers all the best taste of South Africa on one platter, not least in the form of world-class cuisine. And it can always be turned into dinner and a show, whether a preference is a on town or an authentic cultural experience with a good helping of African hospitality. The region's wealth of natural and cultural history is showcased in its unique architecture, memorials, and museums, while the popular Grahamstown National Arts Festival treats huge crowds to an unforgettable program every year. The Eastern Cape is proving itself as a new frontier, where a highly developed first world economy meets the potential of an emerging economy to create a dynamic investment environment. As the only province with 2 industrial development zones and 2 harbors, as well as the new Gqeberha deepwater port, the Eastern Cape is perfectly positioned as the gateway to Africa and the world. The provincial hub is equidistant from South Africa's 3 biggest cities, and efficient access to national and global markets is afforded by world-class telecommunications, technology, and infrastructure. The Gqeberha and East London IDZ are both growing rapidly supporting South Africa's strong performance as one of the world's fastest growing exporters. With automotive manufacturing in the front line, the province is home to the automotive Big Four and supplies half the country's passenger vehicles, with 51% of motor exports originating here. Host to 14.8 million hectares of farmland, boasting some of the richest soils in the country, the Eastern Cape is South Africa's leading livestock and agri-processing province, with excellent opportunities in meat, leather, and wool processing. The province produces a quarter of the nation's milk and 65% of the world's mohair supplies, also supporting strong textile and clothing industries. Our warm, temperate to subtropical climate favors an extensive range of crops. The Eastern Cape is the world's second largest producer of chicory and South Africa's second largest citrus provider. New developments are emerging in the capital goods, petrochemical and renewable energy sectors. The Eastern Cape is home to some of the best schools, research and training institutes in the country, including Rhodes University, Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, Walter Sisulu University, and Fort Hare, where many great South African leaders were nurtured, including former President Nelson Mandela. With excellent private healthcare facilities, affordable quality accommodation, and first-rate shopping and social facilities, the Eastern Cape leaves little to be desired as a prime location in which to live, work, invest, and play. With its warm waves and favorable winds, the province prides itself as one of the world's top surfing destinations, where the famed Jersey Bay is home to the perfect right-hand point wave. Apart from the endless variety of water sports, dune sports, and adrenaline sports that keep our locals and visitors on their toes, the Eastern Cape also hosts 3 of South Africa's top 10 golf courses, world-class soccer and rugby stadiums, and some of the country's best training and development programs for up-and-coming athletes. It's the stuff legends are made of. The home of heroes. Ancient rock paintings tell the stories of the original sand people, hunter killers, who were from literature and cold and things
Thank you very much. Is our Gqeberha le video on mute? So it's because of time. The next question, Dr. Gqeberha, because if you go to China, if you are in China, unxibe isuti engafanelanga mcimbi kodwa linda nje 5 hours up umejarishwe ngoku isuti ifike uyinxibe ungene emcimbini. So ayiyo mistake ke into ba ama-China just a few years ago, in 2020, they were able to move about 800 million of their people out of or above the poverty line because they don't have time. You come in and they are able to look at that. Prom Director Pamela and the leadership here from Transnet of the ANC and the entire leadership, call up, Chief Whip Umagashel, Papa Parliament. They're going to come go back to chair of chairs. So we do so no sendiniyeke kulo ndawo uba ndithe nqaka nentsiba zayo inqanga ibe ndim nezintsiba. So thank you very much. The really objective of this conversation was more actually conceptualized by the provincial secretary of the ANC. We took a decision that we must talk to people of Nelson Mandela and stop talking at them. We must talk to them because we seem to be missing each other. The more we talk, thinking that we're talking to them, only to realize that we're talking at them, there's been a gap. CEO of Gqeberha is here. I think he probably would find time at some time to come, because every time I interact with business and professional, there's a sense of social distance. People here, they don't seem to be understanding what's going on there. But I thought today it's important to prioritize the TNPA. Uyabona Dlamini, sinyanzelekile yayingelo daba elincinci basinikwe i-headquarters ze-TNPA. Government built a building here for more than 10 years. Kuhlwa kunyukwa abantu abanawusuka eDurban beze apha. But Durban has got everything. So we had that challenge that we had to be able to deal with. Yabona building inhlenjana engathi inqana khiwe yagqitywa pha, millions and millions. But kunzima to get things done. So it's important. You might say, Nina, I mean, doing good in doing cool, because we lack such issues. A couple of issues were raised by panelists. I had prepared a speech about address. Speech. I want to comment in a couple of issues that have been actually crystallized by the panelists here. You are right, Chair of BMF. You are right. Growth opportunities in our province are limited. That's historical. We really continue to be this labor-sending province. We've got a brain drain. Challenges continue unabated. So we've got to find a way of turning around that issue. Yes, of course, on the other side is informed by the over-reliance on the auto sector. Auto sector has been carrying our province for the last 6 decades. Volkswagen here, he has been here for more than 60 years, providing jobs to people here. Ford, Estrandale, and Isuzu, etc. There will probably a couple of other new now kids on the block in terms of the auto sector. The Eastern Cape enjoys about 43% market share nationally. So imoto ezininzi eSouth Africa zenziwa apha eEastern Cape. So andizazi ke Dlamini ba kutheni ke ngoku u-90% wazo azayophuma kwela zibuko. But what I know, almost 90% of these cars that are done here in Eastern Cape, they are done for European market, which is also another challenge that we had. We are more under pressure now on the transition to EVs. I had a meeting with the chairman of Mercedes-Benz, and he wanted to home by Zusinceda. One do home, and then I found the meeting. Ayizosinceda silate for ukuhomba ngoku nobe sihlamba sisenze izinto ufuna ukuvuka ubheke endimeni ubambeke. You see, so this chairman flies from Germany strictly for a meeting. Yam no Sputler, the minister of electricity, Tatu Mayor was a BCM, and the fellow says to me in the meeting, we appreciate what you were trying to do. I hope that you are not going to stop it on Buleb Airport, because that initiative, we tried to do it 26 years ago when I was a CEO in this East London plant. It failed. We wanted to have the international airport here. We have been growing this plant. It's a global competitive plant which competes with the world-class plants across the globe. But it is growing in a city that is not growing. It's London. And it can't be right. So he flew straight from the flight to the meeting. Gqeberha hotel. And he was clear, and he told us that you have got 24 months to make your mind. As South Africa, want to address this issue of load shedding properly, but also give a clear indication on where do you want to take this country moving forward in terms of the new transition. Because the European market is moving out of as model, says Kopai. So imoto ezenziwayo ngoku EVs, electric vehicles. Abanye basabafuna ndike ndayibona ke ndiye pha Abu Dhabi. Ndafakwa kuyo ndaqomba ndingene kwimpundulu straight uyahamba nami ngena kuyiqhubayo. Ngoba ingxaki zakankulu. Kodwa ayisaspensa nakubhetele kunale nto eyenziwa ngabantu. If you look at the accidents that our people are doing, etc., etc. But you are right. We've spoken about this as government in terms of diversifying our economy, BMF chair, to make sure that we create more opportunity. We've identified a couple of niche areas that we think we should have done more better on them for quite a number of years ago. If you look at the green and the blue economy, whether you talk about the maritime, but the oceans economy, it's got a lot on what Lamin was talking about here, the bunkering and everything, the ship maintenance and all those kind of issues. So there is no reason that Eastern Cape for all these years, why were we not putting more effort in investing in that particular area? So these are issues that we cannot blame other people, we should be blaming ourselves about. We can no longer blame colonial system, we can no longer blame apartheid system over the last 30 years. But you needed a leadership that is able to say, as we did with Gqeberha, we would probably not be having Gqeberha today if there was no vision that said we need Gqeberha. Again, environmentalists said no, there must be no Gqeberha there. Actually, they were trying to abort it at that stage. So we've got to work together on this. But what I want to propose, program director, is that let's have a sectoral round table discussion. Because if you open a meeting now, when they attend, but ungazange wakwazi ubeka nezinye istand umeslani kude kokuyithenda izindlu ube nekhampani enkulu efuna ukokho izindlu eziyi-1000 ungaqini nenhlanga sibe nengxaki. Itender killed us from that the aspect, killed the entrepreneur sort of skills that you would have needed from a business. So if you talk about young people, business people like yourselves, so these are entrepreneurs that government must find a way of going all out. That's why we've introduced the so-called Scalo. Today, I was so humbled. I felt happy when I saw young people in agriculture who stood up and they're saying, a few years ago. This is where I am today, because this Scalo can give you up to 2 million, probably 2 million grant as a young person less than 35 years going down. So it's an opportunity that is there. We just want to idea. Uzana le nto ufuna uyenza uyichaze yonke ifuna itruck, ifuna itractor, ifuna imoto siyokuthengela sikunike as tools of trade wenze le nto uthi ibusiness yakho sikubona uzawukwazi na uyenza. So we are trying to open up these opportunities for young people in our province, working on our 800 coast line, which is really untapped. All what is happening there, whether you talk about fishing and all that, all boats that are fishing here, they take all these species to Cape Town. This is and all that. So we'll never develop. Gqeberha zavalwa effect. It is bad, which is bad. That's why as long as we continue in chaos and instability here in Nelson Mandela, but still 23 days. But I 30 days. And younger than the next 7 years potential investment here of almost 30 to 35 billion. It's becoming a problem. So almost all key catalytic initiatives that would have actually assisted a lot of development in this part. Remember, Nelson Mandela is an economic hub of our province. But with rural development, we don't want abantu basengcobo beze apha. Sifuna siba develop bepha engcobo. So that banengxaki yokokho izindlu ezingapheliyo. Emisiwe izindlu. Umuntu ahlale pha avuke pha aphangele. So we are looking at that. I'm quite happy that there are a couple of now, because we're really looking at this issue of transforming the auto sector itself. Over these years, it has always been limited to few. It has been a sort of a space for limited individuals benefiting those that have been benefiting. We've got a couple of black industrialists now, even here in Nelson Mandela, that are in that space. So there's a lot that is happening in opening the value chain into that area. Yabona ngayibona lento ba qho uMercedes guys awufuna iCEO lami funeka uthathe iCEO eGermany just like Volkswagen ababuza futhi yabona manje lento ba ufika entweni umtsha ne-internet yakho ayiqinanga kahle oyenye into uzibuza ungathi iyaphambana ubuze into ezingabuzwayo isi utheni lento uqhubeka ngalo sasike sanaye uCEO oyi-1, the CEO that runs now a plant Mercedes-Benz in China, the biggest now, is from South Africa, but from the previously advantaged. So you can have a 60 years here, as companies. Yes, we know probably there are family businesses in Germany. In the Volkswagen, what's going to happen there? That is going to be a ghost city. So while really looking at these opportunities, looking at this issue of green economy, cannabis, and all that, the Premier the National Executive Committee, the cabinet, national, Willie Hotler, and President, the moment we are control. Abantu base-South Africa kuthiwa ngamakholwa bonke intsangu bacimba yile nto itshayayo. Mna ndahlaliswa phantsi iambasade yalapha yangapha eMount Frere yandixelela ngeCanada, yandibonisa iCanada, yandibonisa i-economy yeCanada, how it relies on the cannabis as a sector. So you look at that, you look at agriculture as well. It should not be the situation. When I arrived in UAE, I mean, the realization of UAE mostly desert. So 90%, almost 95% of what they consume, they import. And uninzi lwalando by importer South Africa. Inyama ukutya. That's why abantu benganaxesha iplane yagcwala. Bangapha abantu abakhwela iplane bagqitha kulaa yogcwala sina ngathi balayishe kunanzi ku-14 seater usiyaphi. UAE plane ihamba nani nobani bahlanu kuba ibhizinesi yayo is bigger than you. Wena mntu umkhwelise xa ifika apha ifika ithathe ukutya kwase-South Africa ikuse-UAE every day. And iitrucks zalapha e-Eastern Cape zongeza kwezi zase-Northern Cape zizisa imanganese apha zisuka apha ko-East London zileqe i-first flight out in OR Tambo International Airport nenyama yase-Eastern Cape. Sihlale apha ndithi kuzisa ibhaloni nasi ibhaloni ithethe yonke nto niyithethayo bantu base-Eastern Cape ibhaloni ifane yeGuptas. iGuptas zazinebhaloni enye beziyi-8 eziyabezemva nango ndichanekile namhlanje uba fumene enye ilift wenye uqofanyana ihamba iqhawukelwa ziiglasi apha endleleni kuzizayo endaweni bizondifikisa apha indothula ngapha erhini kumnyama sizobona siphezulu asizobona indothula ngapha erhini bona ezaa bhaloni zam ndizibepha ebhishu endifike ndancodule enye yayo izondibeka apha kube kuthethwa le nto ithethayo ngabantu balapha because we are suffering from self-hate bantu base-Eastern Cape. Si right, yabona xa uye esandini umklokile ulive you right Gqeberha. Xa usesandini, uhlala esandini umklokile ulive at 50 sidibana u10 ezingadibaniyo. Imesi yakho ayisahlangani baloku iminyaka iyahamba funeka ubuyile ngoku. Phelile yonke laa nto ibikade imnandi all along. And elishwa la loo nto ke lisibetha kule nto uba if you can't stop this outward migration nale problem yoba sibe siyi-labor sending province, our equitable share is declining. Currently our budget is at about 91 billion as a province. It's a half of what Gauteng gets from equitable share. Almost a half of what KZN gets because of the population size. 12 million and above, Tina, we're at 6-point-something million. So we're going down. Our people are living to Western Cape and all that. So out of 91 billion, 65% of that goes for COE. You can't have a career in government. In government, you are a civil servant, full stop. No point to we carry a copper, we carry a layer. Power we civil servant. Uqeshelwe usebenza ubhatala awuqeshelwanga ubhatala usebenza. Since problem we pay people 65% out of the money, taxpayers' money. So sibe no 12 billion oshiyekayo we goods and services. Out of that is 3 billion for goods and services, 9 billion for infrastructure within a year. Over and above that, urhulumende lo welizwe lonke uABSN Cape ufaka 32 billion. And not yabelwe 32 billion for social security grants. Le mali siyinika abantwana Eastern Cape iyodwa. So ngenyanga Eastern Cape gets more than 2 billion. That's why ungakwazi uhambe edutywa ko Mount Frere nobantu bani xa kusamkela fika indlela ivaliwe. Kuthiwa sifuna bypass up. Because almost 50% of our people benefit out of that. But we can't have a province in general, any potential engag. So these are areas that we're really looking at. Couple of catalytic projects and also the economic growth corridors that we have identified. And I can tell you, slowly but surely, we're turning our province into a construction site, particularly on the road network, the major provincial and national road network. All these issues, whether it's undersea cable, landing in Gqeberha and so on. Some people say, stage 8, we are stage 8 permanent. So we've got that kind of work, colleagues, that we thought was, as a governing party, we thought that as ANC we must engage you. Because most of you are in business, comfortable, others are employed, and it had serious now learn actually it reverses, because our vision of this country is a united country beyond the parameters of race and gender. That's why I think leader that is leading this sector. So beyond gender and race, to guarantee the democratic dispensation of our country for its prosperity. So as if chronological, that's why when we articulate the national democratic report, you see that as patriotic bourgeoisie, as business people, particularly from the previously disadvantaged. Most of you are business people now. You would not be where you are as business people if you have never given this break and the opportunity. At some point, government had less than 5 million for Abandona Basa University. On Tetanan, government pumps 40 billion to fund more than 1 million young people in our universities. That's not a joke. But the issue is skills development, which was raised here by the leadership. It's very critical. The Office of the Premier to be to level 7 technician from the ICT space. We apply who are almost 300. But the apply which are more Microsoft based, because Microsoft is almost in control of that space. So then what's going on with MIC SETA? Because our diploma, degrees from universities, etc., etc. But Africa by 17, learning skill becomes something else. It's not as obvious, but by virtue of qualification, therefore you are skillful. So learning skills at Tetangai, the Paulege Indoba, out of 23 sitters in South Africa, only 5 sitters that have been active in Eastern Cape. Is it as long as there's always skills development? Nobody way, nobody who mesita, nobody who don't. Ibe where says sitters, zinigi universities, ne colleges, the demand, thing spend. Usugani wa by 100 million, my kangeli X minus. I have was spender for 2-3 years, 100 million. Who can allow one to go is mine. Our Midlands College was given the same amount, more than 100 million by Mesita. Imesita really fund abandon mechanical engineering and all that to reskill them. So you young people, businesses, lend entrepreneurship, and now I onda I so go suga kunai. Ufagwa we process it till you cash. So we are engaging you so that you move out of your own comfort zone. Move out of sitting on your laurels. Think that it's no government where man was part of an donation for a local man. I'm voted. We're not going to go anywhere. So there are a couple of key areas of development that we're talking about here, whether you talk about rail development in our province, whether you talk about the road network, the 2 largest bridges in the continent. Ezimbini ezogqitha lisetsitsikama naza sokhiwa pha emsikaba nasemthetho bridges. Sandra has invested more than 7 billion in this period. That's why ubona every road, major road in the province is being done. Strategically, we gave Transnet roads to say, assist us to deal with this problem here, road network. The irony is that with Presidential Coordinating Council, Kugi Policy per national, there were transport city clubs, so conditional grant, good way, 90% nim spender, we maintenance in the less maintain our surface road. Good 10% nim spender when the lessage. Eastern Cape, 90% of roads are gravel, 10% are surfaced. These are real issues that we're dealing with. So we're coming from a very low base to deal with the issues of social infrastructure, be it hospitals, be it schools, be it roads and all that. But we are tackling those head on, and we are really, that's why so no one can you own the problem. Just understand, I'm going to command the problem, God. You see? Because we've got to push each other to turn around the situation as a Eastern Cape. The entire government is this solution. We are going to practical. Practical. This we talk about operation a clean audit. How do you make sure that a pastor participate into that space? As we're indicating. In 2019, sends in them to a lifestyle audit. The one was snare reputational damage in Eastern Cape. So he only wrong, yes, Eastern Cape corruption, Eastern Cape, it's easy to be associated. So when the next lifestyle, with our cabinet members. I want to know that you know as young and you class you see, a sign, part of the consent form, a sign. So we are both like state security, but uthi hayi zana ngibani asiyazi le nto sithetha ngaba yinto enjani into enasizimisele kule renewal esithetha ngayo uba masiyenze sayenza laa nto ndizoyibona uba i-serious le nto xa ufakwa kulaa nto kuthiwa i-lie detector itsho i-serious le nto so lo mntu uzokufaka yona Dlamini uzokwenza laa nto la truth verification afika athi we makuvalwe ikhethi izitulo zakho masingabi namaviri masibe isitulo singazokuba afunanga nabantwana mabatsicelwe ungezi kwam nto uzawuthetha ngakho kwa enye into nguwe ngekhompyutha nale mibuzo ibuziweyo yho ubona ixoki liphithizela enilishwa yenziwa kwi-tail end so uthethe yonke into uyithethwa kapha ngaphambili afika phetainene abona ke zakubuza nje imibuzo emithandathu not in any order of preference manje kubuze njani le mibuzo bandikha kwezi nto kuzithethe kwanje uyobuzwa ukhule njani kuyoya elalini yakho elokishini esikolweni abantu abafunda nabo ungumntu onjani we did that but into ebesiyenzela yona ibisi-statement sokokuba xa ufuna ukukhokela kwarhulumente funeka uzazi into yoba funeka unyulu because the biggest problem esinayo into yokokuba abantu abaya kurhulumente bacinga uba kuyelwe bona kurhulumente abanye abantu balandela immediately results out of that was us to get 7 clean audit outcomes kumasebe karhulumente apha ebhisho in the last financial year 7 clean audits kwi-parastatals zethu public entities 14 clean audits all in the provincial administration but the clean audit ayizusandawo singazi address the fundamentals the triple challenges of high unemployment underdevelopment and all those sort of issues so we need as partners sinazo eza program Abasa and others to work with us, get these young people there to continue helping us sort all these sort of problems. So I'm just highlighting as Dobeni's data. I'm happy, Doc, that you are available as doctors to work with us on NHI. It's quite interesting as well as on NHS. So it's important. To date, on my way here, the Fumani update, umntana weshumi elinesine is late. Ngabantwana aba bebengena 2-3 weeks ago because umntana wolukile and isiko lokwaluka ndo wazibiza lamajwabu uthetha ngawo wena ngawakho afuna wena but isiko lokwaluka alibulali akukho nomnye umkhwetha othi xa egqitywa kwalusa bhubhe alibulali isiko lokwaluka abantwana bayoluka bashiwe pha kuthi singabahoyi thina singodala sibabulala bayi-14 ngoku abaswelekileyo as I speak to you here now. Almost every season it can be, yes, the numbers are going down. More than 1,000 young people have died already. So inyanzelekile le discussion, we must get out of our comfort zone. Ndike ndabona pha eLimpopo kukho icampaign kaPoppy uMS wapha voluntary circumcision starting from age 10 ubheka. So it can be it's painful when you go to a family ebhutshulwe ngumntana athi utata bendiphanda mhlawumbe umntana engenanto izwa but I'm so shocked to receive the news. I was so traumatized by edutywa ndiyobona enye ifamily so lo tata 2 years ago swekelelwa ngumntana wakho oyi-rugby player estar esuthwini ngokulo nyaka uyolusa futhi so uthetha nomuntu wonke uyabona akasekho sure so ndidano bhuti kuzawuba right lo mntana makayi and you don't blame yourself on anything. So this problem uthetha ngayo doc ayonto nje but thina madoda nathi thina abantu besintu kufuneka ngosiqalisile ukuzijonga as serious reforms ekuthethwa ngazo. I take you the point your wellness, taking wellness as a culture. But part of the niche areas that we have identified over and above this that we have highlighted here is also the sport and creative arts. And then the violence for 5 hours. Violence and boom. By ICC usliwa pa. Awuphawu kwazi nokubamba pha. ngoba ufuna ngoyisa ngathi uyongena ngokwakho pha uyoncedisa la mfana unontshinga. But that's a career. When the young man says to me, Premier, enkosi ngoyenza le fight ibe yi-success. We need business to invest into that. Yabona mawusi Gqeberha the nto kuthiwa Gqeberha the empire. Indlela ebengiyithuka ngayo ngokubiqala. Uqonda abantu baseSenke baphambe no. Sengizisho ba ngabantu nje abazibanisa uthiwa. I'm sorry. Yabona ke kaloku xa usayinento ekuthiwa ngu-second term uthetha unotanga ngathi yaguga. But ngoku kuchimbiza ngoku. Ziyachimbiza komntu uzihoyileyo wonke umuntu uglued phi kwesa. And it was almost, you can go there and see the economy that it has created. The creative arts on its own. Abantwana bethu funa babheke eRhawutini uze bavele kwi-screens. When we bring that here, people insult, ECDC, everyone, waste of money. Siyanicela abantu base-Eastern Cape. Siyanicela. Singaba siko perfect, sonke sine weaknesses, but work with us to build the Eastern Cape we want. We've got that vision. And we're clear where we would want to take this province to. And we're going to use what we have. Today, bendingapha eNtabankulu. Sasinike wena esi speech bendisipreparation ngathelanga ngaso ngoku. Bantu uziphenze libazi abantu. Bendiyovunisa a young man on 25 years olime u750 hectares. U200 hectares uncediswe ngurhulumente kuye. U500 hectares uzenzela. Yena simnike imali less than 500,000. More than 1.5 million yeyakhe. He's an entrepreneur. This is where I met the young people who benefited out of his car. Baphathele itract, baphathele yonke into, namhlanje bafuneka besebenzile njengabantu abatsha. Good people, our province needs all of us. I can talk a lot about issues. We're trying to develop the eastern part of the province. The bigger population is across the Kai. And as long as we don't develop that province, yes, is our moving target. Because all people will be coming this side on this now inward migration, which is the problem. So we are moving that side to make sure that we get things done properly on that side. Mzimvubu, a dam which was conceptualized in early 60s, abelungu ngabomu benza ba malingenziwa so that abantu bapha bahlale besiya eRhawutini uze bakwazi usebenzisa ezifemeni nasezimine. But this year, that dam is taking off 8 billion out of the government balance sheet committed. The dam is moving. It's no problem, yamanzi. And the ask Mr. Tia, Nelson Mandela, Deputy Executive Mayor, where the program here desalination here as part of the mitigating factor to address this. I was happy to learn that TNPA is interested in that. You will not industrialize without power and water. We've got to address the problem of water shortage, the drought. So these are things that we're working on. As soon as this started, removal is tanks, manganese tanks, immediately that opens up space for a waterfront. The hospitality industry gets in there, the leisure, etc., etc. These are things that we are actually driving for the development. So I'm happy that Transnet, TNPA, as Zizi was committing here, is coming on board strongly on this sort of issues. The amounts over and above 8 billion amounts, minister who 6 billion amounts across the province. Our Nelson Mandela is about 800, 900 million given. I know with challenges that we have here, it might not be enough, but this is a metro. I want to a metro, No, abantu basencoba bacinga nyaniso. So it's important when I talk about roundtable discussion, the phone from here, chair, organize the sectors, ICT, sizisa abantu abazawuthetha nge-programs karhulumente kwi-ICT, health, sizisa u-HOD no-MEC bathethe ngee-programs zabo on how to partner, crime, sizise oo-commissioner bazothetha ngee-programs no-MEC wakwa-community safety on work that we're doing. What we are happy with, as much as this crime is a problem, it's a real problem here and it's scary. Ibona abantu behleli bese-clinic, kungene amaphara e-clinic, qonele iifowuni zabantu ababazonyamba. Kuphunyenzwazo, it's a problem. It's a really threat to the same development we're talking about. So we've got to deal with this crime, but it's our need all of us. Akho urhulumente ozawukwazi uyenza le nto ye-crime successfully alone. Or we are mobilizing you now. Firstly, you must defend the stability of Nelson Mandela. On is a monk and if instability is you've got to work on that. That's why the ANC is interested in you as a motive force, the patriotic bourgeoisie as the motive force. Sizonixelela loo nto ke apha nangunobhala uhlela ecakwam. Silahlekelwe izinto ezininzi apha. Uza apha sifuna ukwenza apha i-exploration ye-shell gas sithukwe sime ngedonga sibuye umva. Shell afike apha azofuna ukwenza i-exploration environmental zime ngenyawo kungenziwa nenye. It can't be, and business is quiet. Professionals are quiet, are not saying anything. But I'm happy that Nelson Mandela University is doing a great work from an empirical point of view. So the continued research they are doing, even on EVs, they are far advanced. They've got plans. That's why they've developed a master plan for oceans economy for us. We contracted them. So that sort of work that is being done there is important. So as part of work that we're doing, the high unemployment, we dropped it over the last 3 years from 40% now, from 48% to 40%, or 8%. This is the province that has been going down on high unemployment. Because of work that is being done in Kucha, because of work that is being done in East London, SZ, and elsewhere. We are that virgin land for development. So if you think of development, that's what Agrese said. Mines. So bafuna umhlaba okhoyo ngokuna wokulima ulapha Eastern Cape. This side is more commercial. The other side is a communal land and all the royal land issues and land tenure system that we are working on. But with a solid social facilitation, we will be able to deal with this. But let's deal with crime. All key projects that are being brought here. That's why I've written to President. He said, President, mna enziweyo mabe yenziwe. Xa ku-approve i-project, urhulumente makaprotect i-fiscus. Kukho indlela efuneka yenziwa apho ye-1 billion esuka eMotherwell ebheke eKeynote, so that it can easily connect the agriculture, the citrus into Kucha. So laa ndlela kunzima ngugingxigingxi uba mayiqale. Kukho abantu othiwa ngamadela ngokuthiwa ntona ngamagintsa, ngamadela ngokubona ngabo. Fike kuthiwa sabi protection fee. Kubekho abantu abathi hayi asifuna ukwenza umsebenzi asifuna nje 30% we-local cost. It can't be. Part of crime and the observation we've made here is also is that le crime siyithetha ngayo yenziwa nanini. Nina manene nani manenekazi. Now we're making that observation. Policy issues. We invest them to Gqeberha. That's what we've picked up. We're lucky that we're able to arrest. And most of these people who are committing this crime are behind bars. They are being prosecuted now. But it's becoming a main problem. Yoba abantu babulawa ngaba bantu bahlele ecakwabo. Anomjongo lo hey. Sensitho. Ngiyanilumkisa nje. Kodwa ke all in all I'm saying injongo zale meeting kukuzisa information kuni. Go and digest, set up a plan. sibuye sizopresenta sectoral around the table discussion so that ungabadibanisi bawo ngohlobo umuntu one-interest kule sector aye kula sector yakhe sizoxoxa ezi suggestions sizokwazi ukuzi-synthesize kakuhle siziprocesse ngendlela right. So we are creating that. ANC is there for you, guide it, influence its thinking process. So that it is here with policy conferences zayo ibe icacelwe iba yintoni kanye kanye leyenzekayo pha koogqirha nakwezinye izinto. So we are really saying to all of you, come on board, work with us, and make sure that we build the province we want. In conclusion, we urge our private sector partners to join us in this journey towards the prosperous Eastern Cape. Actually, we are that generation that must discover its mission and we must fulfill it. If by 5 years, in yeah, for 9 months, 5 years, ungabava xa bethetha Oscar Mabuya unobune 10 years enguprima komntu umntu 10 ayithandayo Oscar Mabuya we must be felt uba sikhona ungafiki kwanti ufike nonto engekho. Our people are the most significant assets, and together we can create a vibrant economy and benefit citizens. So we're saying to the professional and business, government doors are open. Let's talk, engage us, show us the way where we are missing the point so that we are able to do things right. So opportunity. So I had to take this time because I had to touch issues and try to respond to certain issues that were raised. I was happy that they were representing sectors, but as from tomorrow, set up as a round table discussion so that we feel the people to come and talk to you. Cannabis, Dr. Sunshine Blow, as ngayo ne value chain yayo, it's important. Already Pago kuhandile Pabla factory. So you see, so there's a lot of work that we are doing, but we need your support. Without you, we will never succeed. So it's creating instability, but let's arrest it. It is not in your good interest to have a perpetual instability of people who don't care about the development of this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You may be seated, please. Thank you so much, Honorable Premier. Colleagues, there are two presentations that are going to be in circulation. I think the other one, we will get it through the permissions from TNPA, from the CEO. I think there's great interest, Buzizi, on the contents of that. Then we'll get the permission, what is accessible for sharing in this environment. Then the second one is the presentation by the Premier, his speech. We will also make sure that is available for circulation. In the poster that has been used, in the poster that has been used, there is an email address there. So those who may then have the specific request, please use that channel, and there's a dedicated team to make sure that it responds timeously. The second proposal, colleagues, that due to time, because those who have been following these discussions would agree, this is the first one after COVID, where we gather in this form. So there's a lot of learning on how to do it and how to navigate it, and the contexts and the issues are much different. So one of the learnings from that, firstly, is that the response today shows that we need an appropriate venue, so that we do not measure and be nervous about the size of the space that we have, considering the time we did the invitations. So I think that's the first lesson. The second lesson is perhaps what the Premier pointedly has raised, and that is to have sectoral focus, so that we're able to then have direct response and interventions on some of these issues. Then the last one, then I conclude, colleagues, is that we are saying, John, that these engagements, we are going to do them bi-monthly. And the only season will be when we deal with the December season, then the cycle will be different. Precisely because of what the Premier said, that we must be able to influence how policy is being shaped, and we must be able to create a higher frequency of these engagements. And I think that clearly, Chair of ECDC, you can see that there's a great interest to see activities around the ECDC as well as Gqeberha in the matter. And I think that a CDC is going to be a very important partner in the next engagement. There is a date that is almost like we are closing a formal meeting, and the question is, when is the next date? Right? So we are clearly saying the next date is Friday, the 1st of September. And then we will work with the detail. Please use the email address for inputs, but we'll make sure that we have a very focused sectoral conversation. We fortunately at ECDC, ECDC is a very important funding partner. Should there be other funding instruments that exist within government, whether it's ITC for macro industrial investments or the smaller entities such as CIFA or CEDA, please let us raise those issues, because we can then, through the channel that we have, invite the line ministers and the CEOs of these entities, so that there is no hollowness in the conversation. We don't want people to refer. But we want to appeal to people who occupy board in these entities that have the oversight responsibilities. Because some of these entities, if you look at their B levels, are not talking to what we wanting to do in a transformative sense. You've got entities that are level 3, some entities that are level 4. And I think that the subcommittees of the board that deal with social ethics, board chairs that are here, need to put pressure to the issue of transformation targets in these entities. It must not only be the bursary schemes that we give to communities. It must not only be the internships that we give. We need to have a fundamental clarity from the chief financial offices around some of these targets, because it's almost exactly what the Premier said. We welcome the clean audits. What do they mean directly on the bigger issue? So we are excited to see board chairs here and many other people that sit in boards, because some of the oversight work for the executive sits there, and it becomes a very important player in that regard. In closing, we really wanted to thank the IHUB and the board members from IHUB that are here for giving us the venue. And we also want to thank the sectors for preparing inputs. And we want to thank the media for really working with us to cover some of the key elements for tonight. And we also want to thank you for being patient with us, because we know that this venue has got a very detailed access control. And coming in here, there was a bit of congestion in the access gate. So thank you very much for your patience. Our request to you is that, because we're using 2 lifts for exit, I see Mr. D is back. Are you still able to talk? You fine? Okay. D is not feeling well. So as we exit, colleagues, we just ask that we work together, because the exit in this building, we're using 2 elevators and lifts. So if we can just manage we don't know what happened recently somewhere in Cape Town. when the lift was supposed to go up, it went down because there are too many people in the lift. Let's just manage that opportunity. The leadership is here. We'll continue to network as people are in pockets using the lift to exit. Thank you so much. Travel safely. And once more, Nopala, thank you for inspiring this conversation tonight. Godspeed. Thank you. Round of applause.